How's it going, guys? Cody, guys, back again, dropping out another video. Right, guys, the article I'm about to read you, I'm a very small part of the article. It's about Christmas in prison. What happened was the journalist who wrote this particular story, she saw my vlog on YouTube about Christmas in prison. I've done 2 vlogs on Christmas in prison, one a year or 2 ago and one recently as well. And she just said, look, I'd love to get your thoughts down. You speak quite articulately, and I think you can, very interested to know your thoughts and opinions on Christmas in prison. So I'm going to read the article, guys. I'm going to put a link in the description below like I always do. Prisons are punishment massively any time of the year. But Christmas, if you have got a loved one and children and a missus, right, and a family and a support network on the outside. Not everyone's got that support network, by the way, guys, but those that have got that, prison is a massive punishment. And psychologically, it messes with your mind. It can take you to some very dark places. And no more so than Christmas, because Christmas in prison is a very depressing time of the year. Your loved ones will be sat. I don't celebrate Christmas, just another day of the week to me. Same with my birthday. But for families, a lot of families that have got children, and in general, Christmas is a big thing. They're sat round, they're toasting, they're pulling crackers, they're wearing silly hats, telling crap jokes, and they're all toasting and eating and just spending time together as a unit, as a family unit. And then you've got that one person, or it could be 2 people from your family that are in prison. And like I say, psychologically, they're going through it. Your thoughts are never far from them. The prisoners' thoughts are never far from the families. And it's a really, really depressing time of the year. And prisoners very much so try to make the best of a bad situation. The story, like I said, I'm a very small part of it. There are other prison officers and prisoners that they've spoken to. The article's very well written. The only thing I'll say is that she got one of my charges mixed up with one of my sentences, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, guys, I'll put a link in the description like I always do. Headline reads, "What's it like to spend Christmas in prison?" Imagine waking up on Christmas morning to the sound of a lock being turned and a heavy steel door being flung open. Imagine opening your eyes to a sparse cell with a few frayed photos tacked to the wall and a stainless steel toilet and sink in the corner instead of a tree. Imagine pulling on your grey prison issue uniform and descending the metal staircase to the breakfast hall. Imagine beginning Christmas Day away from your loved ones, but surrounded by hundreds of other inmates dreaming of home. This is the reality for over 80,000 people in the UK who will spend Christmas Day in prison this year. Former member of the Manchester underworld, Cody Lachey, has spent 2 Christmases in prison, one at H&P Manchester, better known as Strangeways, and another at private Manchester prison, Forest Bank, which is actually in Salford, guys. Cody explains that Christmas in Strangeways just felt like any other day. The inmates ate in their cells and remained on lockdown for 23 hours a day. The only exception was a tree in the prison's central rotunda and a Christmas meal consisting of anemic chicken, watery gravy and roast spuds you could put your windows through with. Cody is now a criminal justice and prisons rights campaigner, giving talks at universities and regularly posting to his YouTube channel, Ex-Con Cody. And she put a link in as well, which was a nice touch. He was gang associated. He revealed that in the 2 prisons he served in, inmates could not be sent presents. They could not receive incoming calls, and any letters or cards had to be photocopied due to incisities of letters being soaked with psychoactive substances like spice. Prisons such as substance abuse and drug dealing remain rife in prisons. Senior prison officer and National Executive Committee member of the Prison Officers Association, Andrew Baxter, tells us, "These things don't stop just because it's Christmas, nor do assaults on staff or disruptive behaviour." Straight in with the violence thing, innit? Prison Officers Association for you guys. No mention when they give us a kicking though, is it? In his 29 years as a prison officer at 3 Prison, Andrew has seen many Christmases inside. Yeah, but you get to go home at the end of the day, don't you? Officers do not receive extra pay for holiday shifts, and the cuts to prison budgets have resulted in drastic understaffing. When discussing the controversial subject of inmates being served luxury Christmas dinners, Andrew explains that there is no extra food budget. This means that in the weeks preceding Christmas, the meals are of lower quality than usual to stretch the funds. The last prison Andrew served at, named Home House in Durham, had extended periods of association. in a brackets, time out of your cell. On the day, the officers also organised table tennis and pool tournaments with prizes of a £1 canteen credit for the winners. The total prize fund for 190 prisoners was just £10. Cody also mentions these tournaments being held at Forest Bank, where he served 9.5 months for assaulting a police officer. That's not correct. The 9.5 months was for a Section 4 harassment with threats. He said, we'd have 5 or 6 hours of association. That's true. You can play games. There might be a table tennis tournament or pool games where you could win £2 phone credit or a box of celebrations. It's just about keeping prisoners occupied. At Forest Bank, Cody was on the cleaning team where he was paid £10.75 a week. £10.25 a week I got. At Christmas, the team pooled their wages to buy extra Christmas treats, including crisps and chocolate cake. That's true, that. We gamble amongst ourselves on the lottery or football scores, says Cody. We bet £1, but because we didn't deal with money, it would be a bottle of shower gel or a pack of 10 Rocky bars. While some prisoners try to, as Cody says, make the best of it, Christmas is the time it makes the most affected by being away from their families. Andrew said he'd had prisoners ask him to keep their TVs over Christmas so they wouldn't be reminded of the festivities outside. Cody shares that at Forest Bank he found his best friend crying in his cell on Christmas morning because he couldn't be with his children. And then there's a quote from me. Being away from family and loved ones is hard enough at any time. At Christmas, it's hell. As much as prisoners are deprived of their family at Christmas, their loved ones are also bereft of them, like means they're not there. South London senior nurse Marcia Kent, 39, describes visiting her 19-year-old son Dylan on Christmas Eve as a horrible experience. At the age of 18, Dylan got involved in organised drugs network as part of their Country Line scheme. This is where young adults and children are used as drug mules to transport drugs across counties. Dylan was sent to Weymouth for his first drop and was apprehended by the police. At his trial, he was sentenced to 22 months for holding cocaine. When they took him down, I couldn't breathe, said Marcia. They're your children, and all you want to do is protect them. At first, his father and I were so angry with him. He came from a stable home and had always had support. But it limited his chances even more than they already were as young as black men. Dylan spent Christmas Day 2016 in Devon Prison, HMP Portland, where Marcia visited him with his 9-year-old daughter, Layla. Marcia tells us the prison was old and freezing. There were no decorations or anything. Layla was beside herself crying, wanting them to come home for Christmas. But of course, I couldn't make that happen. At HMP Portland, prisoners were allowed a maximum of 4 CDs, and Marcia was able to hand in new underwear and books for her son. As Dylan was sent to prison several hours away from his family, his mum was only able to visit once a month and said that Christmas felt different. She said, you've got that run up to Christmas and everyone's getting excited, but seeing him there that day, it was horrific. It felt that too. Usually when we left, we'd just say bye and turn away. This time he stood and watched us go. It was the most awful Christmas. I didn't want to eat and I didn't want to listen to Christmas songs. I felt part of me was missing. That's a strong thing, that, guys. Many people believe there's inherent racial prejudice within the criminal justice system. The government's official statistics can be interpreted as supporting this. 25% of the UK's prison population is from BAME backgrounds, which accounts for only 14% of the UK's population. The smallest prison grouping is women, who account for 4.6% of the UK's inmates. The 3,869 female UK prisoners are housed across 12 prisons. This includes HMP Send in Surrey, where David Shallam will visit his mother for her 8th Christmas this weekend. It never gets any easier, says David, 31. You go through 3 sets of doors and you're searched properly from head to toe. You'll see little children as well. It's heartbreaking for a lot of these children. Seeing their first memories will be of their being patted down by a stranger. David's mother, Sally Chaffland, 64, was sentenced to 22 years for murder after killing her husband Richard with a hammer in August of 2010. David said he had never received any support or counselling from the prison service. David tells us, Christmas is the hardest time. Imagine not being with your parent at Christmas, and their location is not in a cosy home. It's in a cold, hard cell, surrounded by other screaming prisoners. Your mother doesn't belong in that scenario. The fabric of your soul is torn apart whenever I think about it. David has a landline dedicated solely to calls from his mother. He also uses a web-based system called Email a Prisoner. I've covered Email a Prisoner, guys, in many a vlog. I'll put a link in the description. Where messages can be printed off for inmates, but it's not the same as actually being there with them, he says. During visits, David explains that no physical contact is allowed except a hug when greeting and departing. Prison rules permit handing books and extra clothes, but gifts or treats are not allowed, aside from getting his mother a cup of coffee and a Fry's chocolate cream from the canteen. Prisoners are also allowed to purchase presents for the visitors using their meagre wages from their prison jobs. 1 year after his visit, David was given a present from his mother, which said he felt like a raffle prize. It was a wicker basket, all wrapped in plastic and full of things. There was a teddy bear in it, which was completely set me off. David will be spending Christmas with his partner, John, his brother, James, 34, and James's girlfriend, Jenny, 31, along with Jen's family. When asked if he'd be able to enjoy the day, he responds, "Yeah, you are. You somehow find a way to protect yourself. I feel guilty not sitting there thinking about her, but I know it would tear me apart. She would want us to be happy. If your loved ones on the outside are suffering, it makes the suffering twofold on the person inside." Following the 2015 register that named coercive control as a serious crime, Sally's case has been revisited. It has come to light that Sally Challen was the victim of extensive gaslighting throughout her 31-year marriage. An appeal against her sentence is scheduled for the February 2019, having already been postponed twice. David has been campaigning for his mother's release alongside his brother James, who says, "My mother had to go to prison no matter what because she took someone's life, and that's something we never shy away from. But when she was convicted, it was without understanding of domestic abuse in its entirety. I hope that she would have been with us all this Christmas, as the appeal was originally scheduled for November." People underestimate how much an emotional toll it takes as a parent or family member in prison, especially at this time of year. Over the Christmas period, our thoughts extend to the disenfranchised and people on the edges of society. Although we sympathise with the elderly, the lonely and the homeless, people in prison aren't typically considered. This is largely because their situation is believed to be one of their own making. But prisoners do not cease to become people once the prison gate slams shut. Should paying a debt to society override basic observations of a worldwide season of goodwill and charity? Cody puts it best when he says people in prison, they've made bad decisions, done bad things, but you can't underestimate the effects of circumstances on these decisions. Being away from families and loved ones is hard enough at any time. At Christmas it's hell. Putting on a Christmas dinner and a few games doesn't mean we're not serving our sentence. And that is absolutely nailed on, guys. Unfortunately, I wasn't reading that to my best, guys, because as you can see, I'm just knocking this off. It says battery's low on my phone. So I've got 13%, but it's saying low, guys. So as I was reading the story, I was rushing through it because I was mindful that the battery was dying, guys. The boxing's on as well. What the story there, right? You've spoken to a prisoner's son whose mother got at the age of 64, got 22 years. Oh no, she's been in prison 8 years now. So she's 64. So what's that? She was 66 when she was sent down. Absolutely crazy, guys. And she's got a 22 rep, yeah. And she killed her husband, who was obviously coercive. It must have been violent and stuff throughout. So I'm hoping her conviction is quashed on appeal. She served 8 years in prison. She's obviously going down the CCRC route, Criminal Case Review Committee. I hope she gets the answer she's looking for, and I hope she gets overturned. 64-year-old is not prison is no place for a 64-year-old woman or a 64-year-old man at that point. Like I say, guys, prison is the most horrible time of year if you have got a loved one and stuff. I don't celebrate celebrate Christmas anytime, but in prison, I actually had a good Christmas. I made the best of a bad situation. We clubbed in, me and the rest of the cleaners bought items off the canteen, Yule logs and stuff like that, so that we had a feast and stuff. And we made the best of it. It was buying bottles. You buy this, you buy that, you buy. And we came together, we brought all our stuff down. We was pouring bottles of Coke, we was toasting and stuff, and we ate before the prisoners. The rest of the lads were locked up then. When we finish, we clean up, we wash up, we go and get our gloves on, we'd be on the servery doing the handouts. I was doing handouts, so I was just handing out like Christmas pudding and like cake, custard and stuff like that. But just because we're in prison, guys, we're still serving our sentence and stuff. People seem to think that we get like these Thanksgiving turkeys that you see in America. Anyone that's been in prison on Christmas knows what food is like in prison. It's not the best, guys. Really, really not. You got to think, even the Prison Officers Association guy, right, who's, like I said, first thing he touched base on was violence in prison. Oh, boring. Lobby for the smoking ban. You came into a job. If you sign up as a prison officer, do you honestly believe, right, when you've got the regimes of how they are, and you've got mentally ill prisoners, frustration, anger, boredom, mental health issues, behavioural problems, right? Do you honestly believe that you're not going to get lashed out at? And I don't condone attacks on officers, but I completely understand why they happen. And some prisoners, officers, to be honest, they deserve it. Like I say, people on Twitter, let's pay respects for prison officers and stuff. They're getting paid and they get to go home at the end of the shift. They do a good job, and they do make prison a little bit more bearable at Christmas and stuff. Like I say, at Strange Ways, I've spent Christmas there, 22, 23 hour lockup, not festive at all, guys. Christmas tree in the rotunda at the bottom bit of the jail. I don't know if there's one at the top bit of the jail. There was at the bottom. Forest Bank, it was like a 4-day weekend. We got 5-6 hours of social a day. I was a cleaner anyway, so I was out anyway. And like I say, we played Killer and stuff like that. Killer's not where you run around the table shanking each other up. It's a pool competition where you get 3 lives. If you miss, you've got to pot a ball every time you shoot. And there could be 20 of you playing, and then you've got pool tournaments, table tennis tournaments. We played FIFA on one of the cleaners' PlayStation 2s. We gamble on there. Just trying to make the best of a bad situation. It really, really is. Prison's dire, man. Any time of year it's dire, but prison at Christmas, guys, really, really does take a toll. And your thoughts are never far away from your loved ones, and your loved ones that are sat round Christmas dinner, their thoughts are never far away from you. And when they see that spare seat at the table, or they've gone out for food, and they've gone to a restaurant or a pub, and they're looking at that chair, they've had to book one less seat because you're not there. Sad and tragic. You've got fathers away from the children, you've got mothers away from the children. That's the reality, guys. Like I say, not everyone in prison is guilty, guys, neither. You've got people on remand who are not innocent and not guilty of an offence yet. They're awaiting trial. You've got miscarriages of justice. You've got people on joint enterprise, which is disgusting. Tying people up rather than... Just check out joint enterprise, guys. Disgusting. 300-year-old plus law, tying people together. You could stab someone, and you could be 10 of you in a fight, right, with another group, and one of you could pull a knife out, stab him to death. Because you were in the vicinity, you get tied on a joint enterprise on the murder. You might as well plunge the knife into that person for the sentence you could potentially receive, guys. That's the reality of joint enterprise. So like I say, prison's horrible, guys, at the best of times. Prison at Christmas is horrific. Depending on what prison you're in will depend on what regime you run on that day. If you're in Strange Ways or any Cat A prison here in the north, not just in England or Wales. There's not a Cat A in North Wales. There isn't a Cat A in Wales. But yeah, if you're in a Cat A prison in England, I feel sorry for them prisoners more. Cat Bs, feel sorry for them as well, but they get more association. Cat Cs will get more association in theory than a Cat B, and a Cat D will get more association than a Cat C, B or A, because it's an open. Right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I'll put a link in the description below. It's not the best way that I've read the article, because the battery kept coming up saying low, and I didn't know if I had 13%, 12% or 5% or 2%, so I was rushing through it, guys. Let me know what you think about the story, guys. Link here in the description. Your comments, your experiences of prison at Christmas as a loved one or as someone that's been through the system. Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.